Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast, your one-stop shop for television, movie, video games, comic books, book reviews, and more. Now, without further ado, here's Steven and Mike.
You talk first. I talk first.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Man, I am so excited for today because we are going to talk some crazy geekdom stuff. I am your co-host, Mr. Steven Buster, along with the illustrious Mr. Michael Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody, my friend.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in geekdom land.
All right. Now, today we are talking about The Matrix Resurrections, and we are giving our review. But because we have such a movie that takes a lot of thought, a lot of noodle power, we've got Mr. Aaron McCoy on with us from Geek with a Bible. Aaron, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Yeah. Good morning. Hopefully the noodles, they are still cooking in there. They are still tied together. We will see if we can parse apart said noodles as we continue into this puzzle of a film.
Yeah, I think some of my noodles are still cooking from this one.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Real quick, a couple little housekeeping things going on. We are live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for joining us. If you really want to know where our site is for everything, it's twogeeksmike.com, twogeeksmike.com. I'll put that up on the good old Twitch thing here. So twogeeksmike.com. That's where you can go for all things for our show, for the Twitch page, for the Facebook, for, oh my gosh, Twitter, and even our merch page. We've got new merch out there that we're pretty excited about. And so we want to make sure you know about those. Mike's got his coffee mug, the new coffee mugs. I have mine, which is, oh no, this is the old one.
That's the old one.
This is the old one.
That's the collector's item.
That is the collector.
You can't get that one anymore.
Yeah, the new one, this one's the one that's got my bubbly water in it. That's the nice ones.
Bubbly water. That's actually disappointment water. Because every time I drink it, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such mild form of it almost just tastes like whenever you drink soda out of a cup and then you refill it with water, and so it just has that slight off taste to it.
That's a good description of it.
Yeah, it's
I'm just trying to trim my soda intake, you know.
And that's okay. You know what? I commend you for that. So you drink your disgusting filth water for your health, and hats off to you. That's
I so agree with you, Aaron. You drink your disgusting water, and I'll drink my coffee.
Yeah, or even just water. Like, I'll just take water. That's fine.
Yeah, me too. I'm okay with just water.
I love the bubbly. That was good. Thank you, guys. I'm getting ganged up on everybody.
Yeah, we didn't even plan that. I wasn't expecting that one. That was great.
Right, that's a good one.
Nice.
So, all right. So here's what's happening today, everybody. We are going to talk about The Matrix Resurrections and the film. And as we normally do, we give our real quick review, and then after that, we'll go through and we will talk about specific points. Anything that requires a lot of brain cells, that's why we have Aaron.
Yeah, which I we just got up from Christmas as well, and so we'll see. I'm still recovering. We'll get in there. We'll get it. But we'll get it.
We'll get in there and we'll see. So, one thing I promise not to do, and this is the only time I'll use it, and I've watched several reviews of this film. Whether I agree or disagree with them or whatever, I was just trying to, see what other people were saying. But every single review used one word in every single one of them, and that was the word meta. Everybody said meta.
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking, this movie is so meta. And I'm thinking,
no, I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about Facebook, and Facebook is now changing to Meta.
No.
Really?
No, that was by far the most meta movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Now, okay. So,
okay, you're younger than us, Aaron, so maybe you get the lingo better.
No. So, I've heard people say that, but no one defined it. There's all this, and come on, I'm 50 years old. You know what I'm saying? I have lost touch with reality in some areas, not just the Matrix, but I'm just saying. So if you had to define that term, Aaron, how would you define the term meta when people are using it for this film?
Meta is whenever a story is aware of itself. It knows what it is, and it is reflecting on itself. And in many ways, the movie is about the movie. So it's actually a self-aware self-reflection. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
Okay.
I'll
go with that.
That's interesting because see, the way I was taking it was they were comparing it to Meta, being the fact that Facebook is now changing to Meta, and Mark Zuckerberg is creating this entire, virtual reality thing for people wearing the VR glasses and so on and so forth. And
right.
and I'll be honest, okay, I've not been a huge fan of The Matrix, and I've only actually watched the first and second films, and now the fourth film. I've never watched the third film. But when I watched, granted, I watched the original way back in the day, and then I never watched anything else. But, during my rewatch, I kind of got this feeling. I'm like, holy crap, are we about to enter this territory with, Facebook changing to Meta? Or is this an area we're going into? So when I hear that term, that's what I think of. But I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, and that's sort of what good dystopian science fiction is meant to do. It's sort of trying to say, okay, where are we heading? What does future looks like we're going into? And let's amp that up. Let's make it bigger than what it is now. We're going to exaggerate it to get people to see the severity of what issue that we're facing right now. And so, you get a lot of people talk about, these days, 1984 or, what's the other one? Brave New World. Those are things written many years ago,
right?
And or Fahrenheit
451.
Yes, that's actually my favorite of the group. That one really hit what we're
Ray Bradbury.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, and so in many ways, they saw it coming. They saw what was happening, and in the worst case scenario is that they cause it to happen with these things. Because you see, like Star Trek, they have all these great ideas, great inventions of what to come up with that have actually influenced many scientific thinkers to say, well, I want that. I want something like that to develop certain things. But right now, this is Jetsons, what we're doing. I'm seeing you on the screen, talking with you. We're all at our different houses, video. This
right.
This is Jetsons. And so sometimes people will create that. And so I feel like some of the creators out there are confused about what's hopeful sci-fi and what's dystopian sci-fi. Like, oh, Matrix, that sounds like a great idea. No, it's like Elon Musk was talking about bringing back dinosaurs. It's like, we have so many Jurassic Park movies telling you why this is a bad idea. Stop it.
Was that Elon? Was that really Elon Musk that said that?
One of his people, actually, it wasn't him, but someone from his company.
Okay, because I remember that coming out a few months ago or something, and I was like, "What are you, nuts? We've got how many Jurassic Park movies? Have you never watched a Jurassic
Park?
What is wrong with you? This is not a good idea."
No. I need to hire Jeff Goldblum, just come yell at him for an hour,
right? All right, well, let's get back to the Matrix review. This is not a Jurassic Park film. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. That was a fun tangent.
Yeah,
it was, by golly. Welcome to Two Geeks, where we squirrel all day long. All right, so here's the deal. All right, so let's give our initial reviews, our thoughts about it, and then we'll go into more detail about those. Aaron, I do appreciate your definition of meta, because I do want to talk later on about, is that positive or negative for this film? How they were meta and stuff, aware of themselves. Was it a positive thing or negative thing? All right, Mike, we normally do something out of 5. In your opinion, what should that be? What out of 5 should we go with? Aaron, if you have any suggestions too. I always
5 red pills.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, red pills. 5 red pills. Okay, so out of 5 red pills, can we go half a red pill?
Well, we've been doing halves. We might as well.
We've been doing decimals.
Yeah. You started that.
I did. All right. Who wants to go first? Anyone want to go first for their review? Anybody?
Bueller? I'll say this just off the bat. I definitely watched it under less than ideal circumstances. I mean, I watched half of it while wrapping presents. Watched the other half late last night. Wrapping presents for this little guy here.
I love it.
And
we have another special guest with us today, everybody. She's so cute.
No worries. So, do you want to go, Mama? Just want to chill in here with me.
So I would have to say, if it was less than ideal circumstances, that probably tells you something about the movie itself.
Yes. And I'm still processing everything. So I think I'd probably say right now, I'll just give it a solid 4. I would say I'm glad it exists. I think it's better that we have it than that we don't have it.
Ooh, I like that.
Some people could argue about Matrix 2 and 3. Like, a lot of people say you ruined it. Like, you should have just left it alone, let it be. This one, I'm glad that we got it. We'll see as they continue on. We'll see. See what all, because I think this is the first of more. I don't think at first I thought they were just going to kind of redeem the third one, because I'm really not a big fan of the third movie. Gotcha. And I thought they were just going to kind of try another hand at finishing this out, but it does seem like they're setting up a new trilogy. A lot of it was set up, a lot of exposition. So yeah, I'm happy it's here. As I said, I'm still dissecting everything. But yeah, I'll say 4. Definitely some problems with it. But yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay. Well, Aaron, I'm glad you're here, because I need you to help me process through this movie. Because I mean, it was okay. I am definitely not going to say this is a great film. There were things I liked about it, and there were things I went, what?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I got to say, I liked the first film. On my rewatch a few weeks ago, I liked the first film better than I did years ago when it came out. The second one, I felt it was all right. It wasn't bad. I felt the first one was better. The third one I never watched.
That's all right.
And the fourth one, like I said, I'm just kind of So I would give this 3 red pills out of 5.
3 red pills out of 5. All right. All right. Well, here you go, everybody. I love this movie, and I hated this movie.
Nice.
I can see that.
We're in for good discussion.
Aaron, I really like how you stated. Am I glad that we have it? Actually, I am. I am glad that we have it. Did it seem in the vein of like Hollywood seems to be doing this rehash. At first, for me, started with Force Awakens, was like a parallel to Star Wars New Hope. What was the other movie I saw recently that was like that? There was another parallel. It was like almost taking from, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters Afterlife was almost like a parallel to the first Ghostbusters movie.
Or what they kind of call it is like the soft reboot. So instead of just having a complete Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man. We're not going to pretend that, this is just a completely new thing, or Dark Knight, Christian Bale Batman. Instead of just saying we're going to completely reboot it and start from fresh, it's like, okay, this is a sequel. The past did happen, but we are starting afresh for a new audience. If you haven't seen the other one, hey, jump on in now. And I've never really been a big Star Trek fan. And a lot of it is just because there's so much of it out there. There's so many TV shows, there's so many movies, so many things. And I'm always just like, okay, where do I start to even try? But I did really like the J.J. Abrams one, because soft reboot. They're like, here is a nice place that you can jump into.
Agreed.
We kind of did it's half sequel, half reset. But it is also, as you said, that it's sort of this retelling. So if Force Awakens and Jurassic World is a lot like that too, that it's sort of a remake, hits a lot of the same beats, but
the original is better.
Yes. Yeah. Although, that's the other one, getting to this whole meta thing. That's another great example. So think about, Jurassic World is such. Here we go, back to Jurassic Park. It's such a weird film, because with that is another very meta movie, because they're talking about, man, wasn't the first park so much better than this? Oh, they had these, real dinosaurs. They didn't have to have all this, tinkering and stuff. So that's them legitimately talking about, isn't the first Jurassic Park movie better than all this CG crap? So self-aware. It's kind of critical of itself while at the same time being a film. And this one does a lot of that as well. This one's kind of, there are some things that's almost depressing about it, of how much how much it's crapping on its own self and the studio. And
right. We'll get into all that in a little bit. So so that's kind of how I feel about this film. It is that we'll say soft reboot. Kind of
Aaron, did you you didn't give a score yet? How many red?
I think I said 4.
Okay.
He gave it 4.
Yeah.
He gave it 4 red
pills.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll give it realistically, I'm in that love-and-hate relationship thing here with this one. So I'm a big Matrix fan of the first one. I enjoyed half of the second one. There were some great fight sequences, great ingenuity and stuff. The concept of the architect, I did enjoy, and the balance of the architect and the Oracle out of that, I did enjoy. And so the third one, the third one was just like whatever. We've already talked about some of that. So this was kind of a reboot. It seemed to be parallel again with the first Matrix film. It did seem to be self-aware to an extent that, was that positive or was that negative? And so that's the question that I have on that one. And we'll get into that. So I'll give it 3.5 out of 5 red pills. 3.5 out of red pills. There are things about it that I really enjoyed. Things about it I hated. There is no in between for me. Parts of it I loved. Parts of it I hated. And it is. We can walk through this whole thing and you'll be like, Stephen, what do you think? Yeah, I hated that part. Stephen, what do you think about this?
I get that. I completely understand that, because there's parts of this that I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And then there were other parts that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. I enjoy this. So I completely get what you're saying.
No, I feel that. No, I'm sorry if I missed it or not. Mike, do you think that you like this one better or worse than the third one?
I didn't see the third one. So
better than the third one.
Better than the third one.
Okay. I was gonna say, so this is multitudes better than the third one.
Perfect.
Yeah, but that's a great question, Aaron. Thank you. Compared to the third one, I think it's better than the third one.
So let's go ahead. Let's start off on a positive note. What were the things that you loved about it?
Okay. Well, first, this is the point, everybody. We're hitting spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, then come back later. You can find us on Twitch. It stays on there for a couple of weeks, on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. But come back later. Let me say this while Mike's getting the spoiler thing ready. I want to say this. I saw this. I watched it as soon as it came out on HBO Max because I just couldn't wait. I was so excited for it. It is worth seeing on HBO Max if you're a Matrix fan to at least be part of the conversations that are happening.
I agree with that. Yeah. And that's how I watched it too. I watched it on HBO Max.
Yeah. Now, here's the other part that I'll say. I have not yet seen it in the theater, and I'm still wondering if I want to or not.
Oh.
Yeah, because I know that was one thing for me as well, is that I was at first I was really wanting to see it in the theaters, because I am really a huge Matrix fan. I mean, it's essentially the especially the first one. I mean, the first one for me is one of those, like, golden S tier films that, like, if I'm creating a backdrop of just, like, in my opinion, just classic, amazing top, I would put the first one in there. And then the 2 and 3 had some very defining moments for me of, like, because that was really whenever I learned how to really, really dig into a film, like really how to dig into the philosophy and all these things, instead of just like, oh, it was cool. Did you see that explosion? Did you see this? But, like, really, I mean, I had so many hours of conversation about those. So it's, nice. While the merits of those films are up and down, there's just they were important, but this one, after watching it, I don't think I would go back in to see it. I don't think it's because I know that the budget on this was definitely smaller than the other ones. They weren't looking to transform cinema as we know it, as the first ones really were trying to do. This was just kind of which I kind of appreciated. It was definitely a much smaller scale, very focused on Neo and Trinity. This is what it's about. This is their story. Yes, you have the war and all this stuff, but it really wasn't about that. So they got focused in on that. So much smaller, but as I said, I think it's probably getting to something grander, getting to something bigger.
Okay. I love that. I love that optimism about this. And I will agree with you. If you had to narrow this down, what was the main theme of this film? You're absolutely right. It was the love story between Neo and Trinity. And I totally agree with you on that.
I would have to agree with that. And that's one part of the movie that I really liked, was the story between Neo and Trinity. Because I like their relationship. I like how they are fighting to be together, and that's the one area of the film that I really did enjoy. So
yeah, and I think I feel like they were trying to redeem an idea that I think they actually failed with in the first movies, like the whole love story between Neo and Trinity, because, like, as much as I like this, I mean, they're going for that cool kind of stoic, just, oh, we're cool, and I mean, through most of the other movies, the love story basically is just kind of like, Trinity, I love you, and that's about it, and I just imagine, like we're like, okay, can you give us some emotion? Can you really, okay, Trinity, the woman you love is dead. Can we give, and so then, it's just, Trinity, no. And it's like, no, we need some more. And then eventually they're like, okay, can we just, like, wrap a cloth over half of his head so we can imagine that he's actually getting teary-eyed here. So I think that they really tried to get the love story to be a big part of the series. But in the original films, it didn't quite land, as to where within this one, I think they did it a little better in this one. I think that, and even just that sense of, that they're both the one, that it's not just Neo's the one. And something's also interesting. I mean, we talk a lot how there's a lot of Christian elements in the stories. How you have Neo, which is, if you rearrange the letters, it's one. And then you have Trinity. And so you have the whole Christian concept of God being 3 in 1 at the same time. So it's alluding to Neo and Trinity, that even though they're two, they are actually the one. Yeah. So I think
that's a good way to look at that. I didn't even pick up on that. Now I feel slow.
Yeah. So that was something that I feel like they got better in this film. It's kind of something that was there, but they they kind of failed in that regard on the original film. So I think that's something that they did better with this one.
Nice.
Well, just as a reminder, we are moving into spoiler territory now. So, and especially what you alluded to there, Aaron. So spoilers from this point on.
All right, here's
Ghostbusters siren. I love it. Spoilers ahead. Spoilers are here. There it goes. And
all right.
Boom.
So we are in spoilerific territory now.
All right. So let me address, Aaron, what you had just stated. And I love that you stated that I think that did come out fully in this film, in Resurrections, was Trinity and Neo together, they make up the one.
Yes.
And now that you stated that based upon their names and stuff, I like that connection, and I think you're onto something there. That's good.
Yeah, I didn't connect it with the names per se. I mean, I connected by the end of the movie, of course, that the two of them were basically the one. But yeah, I really like that. That's good thinking there. That's why we got you on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to recognize John had posted on here. Here, I'll put it up on the screen. Here's what John says. John says, I give it a 0. No red pills for John. I compare The Matrix with movies like The Terminator, Alien, Jurassic Park, very much so. I didn't think about Terminator and Alien, but that's a good point.
I didn't either.
Innovative and clever, yes. In my world, the other Matrix movies don't exist. This one was just boring with a capital B.
Wow. Wow. No, I didn't think it was quite as boring as John did. I mean, there were still elements that I enjoyed of the film. I wouldn't say it's not worth watching.
I think one of the things,
I just wouldn't say it's as good as first.
With Matrix is the idea of, okay, what do people come for these films with? And that's even like,
there you
go. So, this whole idea of, we're going to reboot the Matrix. So in the Matrix film, they're talking about the Matrix, and you have all these people discussing what we're doing right now of, okay, what is this actually about? What do people come for this for? What is it? Is it about this thing or is it about that thing? Is it, all the different ideas of why people come here. And, the one guy who's just like, no, what they want is bullet time. That's what people come to Matrix for.
Yeah.
He said word, bullet time. That's 2 words.
Yeah.
Yes.
That guy was a nut.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So tell me, Aaron, how did you feel about the whole thing with, that he was a game producer, and so everything else before it was a trilogy of video games, and then it made it so, as you define the word meta, I said I wasn't use that term, but self-aware. I like self-aware better. Do you think that took away from the film or added to the film? And in bullet time, especially, I'm going to come back to that because I have a certain opinion I want to share about that. But how did you feel about that whole concept of Matrix within the Matrix, or is a video game kind of a thing?
Well, I liked it because I liked that because which this time it's only one of the siblings. Last time it was 2 of them working on the films, and I felt like you got some real commentary. And input, because usually they've been notoriously silent about a lot of the films. They really don't talk too much about it, which they've said. I remember read a thing. I forget which one it was, but basically said like, "Oh, we want you to make up your own minds about this. I don't want to tell you what to think about it. I don't want to give you a readout of the." Hey, just a second, buddy. I'm sorry. Oh, you got a boo boo. Okay, I'm sorry, bud.
Yes,
and so
Aaron, with this movie, we have a boo-boo.
Yes, we do. We do. This movie is... Our discussion has caused many a boo-boo. But so I felt like we got to get an actual interview with the writer and get some insights into the film and what it's been like for, I believe, goes by Lana now, I believe, but what it's like for Lana to get, having all this fame, having gone through all of this, and it's actually sounds very depressing. I mean, it thinks, talks about, oh, did you put a lot of yourself into this character? And it's like, yes, I did put a lot of myself into this character of Neo. Now we see this character of Neo is like having nervous breakdowns, is suffering a lot of depression, having all this, they talk about how, the Matrix itself is used from the Matrix, that it's kind of, the system is using, like we talked about last time I was on here, how you have both the left and the right politically use Matrix terms to define themselves, so like the whole term of being woke comes from the Matrix, which is, a left-wing term, and the idea of, get red pilled, that's a right-wing term, which also comes from the Matrix. And it's like, okay, these things are, some of the politics that they were going up against is now being used to uphold it. So I do like those conversations. I mean, it almost felt like, shoot, we're YouTubers, we like YouTube. It almost felt like getting to watch just a YouTube interview with the creator while I'm watching the film. So I actually enjoyed that part of it. And enjoyed it, because then I love Matrix discussions. And so it almost felt like the movie itself was in on the discussion. It's like we're talking about it with you in a Matrix movie. So it's very mind-bending thinking about that, what's going on. So, and it made it unique enough. It made it different enough to where it wasn't just the same rodeo. It was a different level of control, a different level of, because that's actually one argument I always made about Matrix, of like, okay, look, if there really is a Matrix out there, do you think that the robots are going to allow them to create a movie called The Matrix to let us all think about these things?
I don't know.
So that's what you could say, is that, well, maybe the level of control is the fact that now I have this argument of, well, would the robots really allow this? Then the robots are going, no, would we? See, now you're back into your calm, not suspecting self, because we've gotten that layer of control. But no, I liked it. I actually think that was one of the positive things about it.
I'll be open with you. I struggled with it, and only in the aspect of, let's talk about bullet time. Oh, we created this new bullet time. I'm like, you didn't give me regular bullet time hardly in this, kind of a thing, to a certain degree.
Yeah, we got a couple moments.
We did.
Because we got Neo protecting Trinity using bullet time.
We did. Yeah. We did. And plus the new bullet time, or whatever they call it, kind of a thing. I almost was like, well, wait a minute. That was me on the outside looking in, and that's what we called it. But now you're calling it that. But now you're doing something different. I was like, I got confused.
Well, I like the new term. What was the new term when their eyes change? And was it berserk, or I forget?
Swarm.
That's it.
Swarm.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a good aspect of this one.
And I really enjoyed that finale. I thought was really cool, almost the zombie type thing, where just like all these people were becoming.
That was
I got a World War Z feel from that. Actually,
yeah.
Because when in World War Z, the zombies are like insanely fast and just coming on you. To where you pretty much can't get away. And yeah, I got almost tense. The same feel of this as I did World War Z, which, by the way, I prefer Walking Dead zombies to World War Z zombies.
Well, Walking Dead got like 1,000 seasons, and World War Z couldn't get more than one movie out there. So I don't think you're alone in that assessment.
True.
So let me ask you on that aspect, the bots. Help me understand the bots. So those were really actual programs in the system that they could just take over with Swarm?
Yes. I'm not sure if they were all the same. I don't know if it was like an Agent Smith thing where one person's taking over multiple people. It might be, actually, because I think the Smith did say something about that, oh, well, I can do this now I'm everybody. So I think all of those people might have been Agent Smith, but just within there.
I have a love-hate relationship with Agent Smith in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear this from you guys. Go for it.
So Agent Smith was one of the things that I really enjoyed about Matrix 2. I liked him. I liked that he could, just pretty much any character can turn into Agent Smith. I liked his dynamic with Neo. I thought it was great. And then this one, I'm like, this doesn't feel like Agent Smith to me. It didn't look like him. To me, it didn't act like him. I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. Now, I liked the story idea between Agent Smith and Neo in this, how they're kind of connected and furthering more ideas within the Matrix. I enjoyed that, but I didn't like the actor. I didn't like him. He turned me off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did like, because so we had, just the two recurring people, but then we had recurring characters. Well, I guess we had a couple other minor roles, but yeah, I really think Hugo Weaving was really, really lacking
Agreed.
From here. I think I kind of like with Morpheus, how it was Morpheus, but it wasn't Morpheus. Like it was actually a program. And so that I was okay.
It was an agent.
Okay, well, we got a different actor because it's not actually him. He just has the same name and has a lot of similarities, but it's not actually Morpheus. So I'm like, okay, I can go with that. But the thing that they did with Smith, honestly, I would have preferred if it was just like Agent Johnson or something like that. If there was, if you can't get Smith, Hugo Weaving, it's because they were kind of going for the same thing. That this was definitely a different person. So, like Mike, I know you haven't seen the third one, but the guy who was infected with Smith on the third movie, he was definitely doing like a Hugo Weaving impersonation. You got the whole vibe of him, like you really felt like beneath this guy, that is Smith. Like I could feel that. I could feel Hugo Weaving coming out of this actor.
That actor did a great job.
So in other words, it was kind of like MIB3 when you had the younger Agent K. Yeah. So this guy played the younger version of Tommy Lee Jones, and he did fantastic. He was. I was like, I love this guy. He's awesome, and he embodied Agent K. I thought he was great. This guy did not embody Agent Smith at all. I did not feel like he was Agent Smith. And
I think they were doing that intentionally. I think that they were, because there was all these weird things in there. So like he calls him Tom. Smith never called.
No, he
Thomas
always
Anderson
called him
Tom.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
That's a good point.
Yeah. One of the ideas as well. So something I was talking about. So in my channel coming up, I want to sometime in the new year. I'm planning on looking at a string of films from the late 90s that were sort of the cubicle depression movies. So you got all these films. So you got Matrix, you've got Fight Club, you've got American Beauty, you've got Being John Malkovich, Office Space, Falling Down.
Wanted was another one.
Oh yeah. Wanted, definitely. You know what? I'm guessing the comic book probably came out around that time, but then the movie probably came. That's a great example. But one of the things that happened within corporate culture is that they kind of got the vibe of, oh, okay, this is killing people's souls. So let's try to make things a little better. Let's give people a ping pong table and foosball and a cereal bar and let's have open spaces. We're gonna have open spaces for people to hear. So it's still control, but it's a really nice control. We're gonna control you with niceness is what we're going to do. So Agent Smith represented this old school, straight lace, hierarchical. We are in control. We are the bosses. You do what you're told. But yet now we have this nice control. This very, don't you want to just, work here. It's so great, but it's still control.
That is perceptive. That is very perceptive.
You know, when you just brought up the whole the Office Space is killing you thing, all I could think of is Joe versus the volcano with Tom Hanks. It's the lights. The lights, they're sucking the life right out of us.
Absolutely.
It's a great movie.
Okay, it's the nice control. Okay, I can go with that. I can follow that.
Yes, and that's even why, like, sort of the big bad on here was just a therapist, which is kind of weird. It's kind of interesting that they made the
they didn't call him the therapist. Remember what they called him?
What was the analyst? The analyst. That's right, the analyst.
And I thought that was interesting as compared to the architect or the oracle.
Yes.
Now that was a twist that I didn't see coming. Actually, I did not expect him to be the big bad at the end of this. Now I did notice his glasses because we had the color thing going on, like
the blue pill.
Like M. Night Shyamalan does in a lot of his films, where the colors of certain things mean certain things.
Yeah, which
like
this
the
we got away from more.
Red.
Right, exactly.
They did that heavily in, especially the sequels. They had green, blue, and gold were very, very prominent parts. So you had, like, the blue world was the real world, the green was the Matrix, and then the gold was kind of the spirit world thing that Neo could sense in the third film.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But this one, because something that I did appreciate about this, because I know one thing I hate about the newer Star Wars sequels, which, we've had our discussion before. There's things I like and things I don't like about them. One of the things I do really hate about them is that you get this feeling of, what on earth was the point of Return of the Jedi then, if everything just came right back? There was this feeling of so it just keeps going, huh? So evil just doesn't actually stop. It's just still there, and we're not actually better off. So I did actually like on here how that they had a moment of talking about that. Of saying,
that just goes to prove that Disney doesn't understand Star Wars to begin with. So.
No, or at least some of that. Well, no, because John Favreau and Dave Filoni 100% understand.
Right, and they had nothing to do with the movies.
No, but it's still Disney. But yeah. Anyways, that's a whole other tangent.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Oh yeah, we could do a whole podcast on that one, and I think you and I might go round and round on that one.
Yes, which I'm sure I'll join you guys at some point on one of your Boba Fett reviews whenever that comes out.
Yes.
But anyways, yep, next week is coming. It's coming. So, actually, shoot, the people in podcast land, you might be listening to this and have Boba Fett now. So, lucky you. Anyways, sorry, tangent. I do like how they had that. I like how they said, like, no. Look, we have humans and robots who are working together. We show more of, and I think that's another idea that was in the other films that I think they did a better job of explaining, is the fact that there are robots who hate the system just as much as the people who are in the system.
Yeah, I like that aspect of this one. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, so they were fighting against it. And
now, we never got that in Terminator, did we? Well, I guess we did in a way, because the Terminator becomes good. We get a good version of him. So I guess we kind of get that in the Terminator.
Terminator still is more kind of classic good versus evil.
Sure.
As to where, and that's something they talked a lot about this of, you're thinking in simple binaries. You're just doing binaries, good, bad, and there's a lot of in between.
Well, see,
and
now
that's even one of the
certain stories I like just good versus evil. I kind of prefer that in most of my Star Wars.
Well, yes, and I agree with that with Star Wars,
right?
Which is why I think so many people, back to the whole Last Jedi conversation, because it really starts questioning that. Is it good to have these binaries? Is it good to have these, good versus evil ideas, or is there deeper questions? And but yeah, within fiction that works very well. Within life, that I think that's a horrible way to look at life.
Well. Sure.
Yes. And that's one of the things that Matrix is trying to do. It's trying to free our minds from these, which that's even something I think Smith talks about, or the analyst, I forget who it was, talks about how we are, as humans, are set up for story. We are set up for fiction. This is what we are essentially programmed to latch onto, is stories, is the stories that we tell. Something I would, there's a thinker I really like named Jonathan Haidt, and he's sort of this centrist guy who's trying to cause more discussion between left and right. And it's really interesting. He has this TED talk where he talks about, the story that people on the right have about democracy. What is the story of capitalism? Essentially, what's the story of capitalism? And he looks at the left of, what do you say the story of capitalism is? And they're both true in their own way, but yet they're completely different stories of, okay, has capitalism been this force for good, or has it been this force for evil? And it's kind of both, there's good and bad within the system.
Sure.
And so I think some of Matrix, it gets so stinking complicated because they're trying. So they're trying to free your mind, but they're also at the same questioning, is it possible to be even free in the first place? Are we completely limited? Are we determined? Are we just responding to the systems and the inputs around us? It's like Trinity or Tiffany talks about that in there. She's like, okay, I know that I wanted to be a mom, but did I really want that? Or is this just something that I'm responding to that's within the culture? And it's like, well, I don't know. It's all these deeply complicated things that then starts to make your head break. And
do you think it's too much for people? Like, when I go to a movie, in all openness, I just want to be entertained.
Yep.
I want to get my mind off of the world, in all openness. It's kind of like, I want to put myself in this world so I can just enjoy. And there's tension and stuff.
You want a popcorn flick.
To a certain extent, I don't. Some movies I enjoy getting in the world. That's why I enjoyed the first Matrix, and I could wrap my head around it. This one, I think I had more of a difficult time wrapping my head around this one than I did the first one, and I was having problems with the story beats, and I had created this understanding of what I thought I understood as the Matrix that just got blown out of the water in this one, but only in the aspect I understand that was the story to try to trick Neo into where he was or what was going on. I get that. But because of how it was so self-aware, it made me wonder, are you poking fun of the world that I had created in my mind of understanding what you had done with the Matrix? And so that's where what I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show was being self-aware. Was it a positive or negative thing? I think it was positive in the aspect I understand it was creating this whole story. Right. But secondly, I thought it was negative because it was almost as if you were making fun of yourself and then you wanted me to take you seriously later on. So, I really, that's where I struggle. I'm like, this is too much for me. Or let me rephrase that. I have a small brain, everybody. It was too much for me to sit there and go, wait, no, I just want to come in and enjoy the world. And you've spun this world back and forth. You're making fun of it. Wait a minute. Or are you serious about it now?
Yeah.
I can't grasp this world now. And so therefore I'm really having a tough time with it.
So who does a really good job at that idea is Marvel. The Marvel movies do a fantastic job of saying, look, this is ridiculous. We know this is ridiculous. It's like on Age of Ultron, Hawkeye's like, look, I'm a guy with a bow and arrow, fighting robots. None of this makes sense. Okay. And they do this, Guardians of the Galaxy does this a lot. You have them all stand up. Oh, we're going to fight them. It's like, yep, here we are. Just a bunch of a-holes standing in a circle, like they mock themselves. But that's a way to tell the audience, hey, look, I know this is weird. We're just here to have fun. Okay. Yeah. We're just that's kind of what that does as a way of mocking it. As to where I think Matrix has definitely a lot more of a cynical kind of because they were actually they were mocking the studio hard.
They were
hard. And because they basically, how they're telling Thomas Anderson, look, we're making this sequel. Now we can do it with you or we can do it without you. That's what happened with this movie. 100%. That's what happened.
You think so?
100%.
Okay.
And they're just like, well, okay, either you can massacre my kid or you can let me do it. And it's like, I guess I'll have to do my best. And
that's kind of like the new Halloween movie, the new ones, where when I can't think of the guy who directed the new ones, but he said that if John Carpenter's not involved, he's not going to be a part of it.
Yeah,
and they're like, well, we don't know if we can get Carpenter involved in this. So he said, let me talk to him. And he went to Carpenter and he said, look, they're going to do these films whether we're involved or not. He says, it's better for us to get involved and let us take control and do it the way we want to do it, or let them take it and just make it a mess.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I
this is great discussion.
Yeah, I thought that was a smart way to approach it. Now, granted, it doesn't come out in the film that way like it does in The Matrix. I totally get what you're saying, but it's the same. It's the exact same idea. Totally.
Yeah. So there is something of that, though. There is something very weird about acknowledging just how much this probably really shouldn't have happened, and that was the same thing I felt. But it's like, okay, but we're here, we're here, so let's deal with it.
So it's almost like we have a Matrix happening within the industry.
Yes. It's well, because that's even the massive questions, and they don't even really define it of like what is the symbolic nature of the Matrix, like what actually is it within our life? Because that's I think that this is really like, look, I appreciate popcorn flicks. I appreciate just watching explosions, seeing, Kong versus Godzilla, it's fun. It's great. I do also appreciate, the art house films that are really digging deep into the psychology of humans and the nature of reality, all these, really deep questions. What Matrix did is that they took an art house film and they filled it with guns and kung fu.
All right, yes,
true.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Yeah.
And so it's okay, yeah, here we go. We got
here, I'll put it on the screen so people can read. So since you want to discuss this. So
okay,
John
says,
says,
that's why I love Rashomon from Akira Kurosawa.
Oh wow.
There is no absolute right and wrong. Nothing is black or white. It's all gray. Really a must-see movie. So thought-provoking, but it's not a popcorn flick. So yes, so there are some films that some films can do that. Some films can really propel the way that you think and can really and I know a lot of people because like I love philosophy and I know a lot of people who have got into this world because of the Matrix. You come for the guns and the bullet time, but then it kind of opens this door into something more.
right.
And that's what I like. I actually like with these trying to dissect what is the meaning going on here. What the heck are they trying to get at?
Mm-hmm.
And which with this one, I'm still figuring out.
I'm not opposed to thinking films to a certain degree, but this one just went so far. I was like, I don't know. And I am not an art house film fan, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't go to films to get preached at, kind of a thing. I get enough of that on Sunday morning. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing. But I will say, I'm not, I do think some thinking films do make a good movie make, kind of a thing. Sure. So because, okay, you've created this world. I want to jump into this world. I love world building films. That's one of the reasons I really like The Matrix. But this, I think this one just kind of destroyed some of my world building that I had created, my own personal headcanon. Yeah. And, which is something we do like to talk about on Two Geeks is, especially with Star Wars, you have your own headcanon. We had that discussion with John Jackson Miller.
Yes.
About Legends books and stuff, and with that author, and so which was good. And so I think it twisted it so much. I'm like, no, wait a minute, I just created this. But I have to say, some of the world building I did enjoy in this film. Now, I got to get this off my chest right here, right now. I need your guys' help. There were 2 cameos in here. One was okay from the original trilogy, and that was Niobe. That was okay. I get it. I get the world of IO, which I thought, okay, I like that kind of world. But the machines and people coming together, I actually enjoyed that quite a bit. I really did. But the one I struggled with, because I really liked his character in the second and the third film, was the Merovingian. I loved him in the original trilogy. In this one, I was like, what did you do to him? I get it. He's exiled now, or they had these exiles rather than killing him and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That goes against his character in the other ones. Cause what did he say? I have survived 6 of your predecessors. I will survive you. That's my terrible accent.
Yeah. So he has survived. So once again, we're getting into, self-aware. So this guy's going off. So he's angry at Neo, angry at the Matrix, angry. So think about this guy like an angry.
This is the guy, the bum-looking guy, right?
Yes. He was the guy on the second Matrix who was like the real suave Frenchman who was.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even really know who he was, and I was just like, I completely didn't get him in this.
Yes, so
I didn't get him in this one either. But in the second film, he was like, for lack of a better term, he was in control of a lot of things going on in the Matrix. He was your criminal mastermind underworld boss, and I love that. I was like, I like this guy. Okay.
Yeah, but so what he was in this film, think about him as an angry commenter and of like online. So he's going off about how everything was better before Neo, before the Matrix movies. He says, "Oh, we didn't just have all the the texting stuff." So he is lamenting where we are at as a culture, saying that because Matrix was one of these pivotal things that really launched us into the digital age. This was right. They made hacking and internet cool. It was one of those things that really got people going with it. And so he's blaming Matrix for so if we talk about Facebook as the meta world, that we are now kind of choosing our own Matrix that we're going into. And this guy's saying, no, we used to actually read. We used to actually have, real discussions. We had all this real stuff, and now it's just this digital, hogwash or whatever it is. That's exactly what he was, what he was doing.
Well, Aaron, I really appreciate having on the show. I'm not trying to end the show here. I have to stop and say thank you, because in our discussions here, you have helped me take a new perspective on this film. And I'm like, okay, that's good. Yeah. So I may end up I may go up a notch on my score, because you're helping me kind of get a better feel for really what is going on with this film, rather than just a popcorn film, and rather just another philosophical film. This film is a commentary. Sorry, that's the word. A commentary on itself. And today, the world as a whole.
Yes.
That's what I'm picking up from how you're explaining this, and I really appreciate it.
Yes. And as I said, we're still digging through some things, and
we are.
Yeah, I know there was one thing that was like one part that I felt at first I thought was kind of cool, but then the real what I thought it was symbolic of actually kind of ruined it for me. And was just kind of depressing. So we were talking earlier about the whole thing of the people rushing, the
zombies,
the swarm,
the swarm,
and then they had a thing where it was getting the people in their homes, and then they're jumping out of their windows,
right.
trying to kill them that way. So it's like they're on the ground, they're from the sky, they're everywhere.
Right.
But I know
human bombs.
Yes, the human bombs, absolutely. Something that I've heard about, really, really serious issue are some of these, like phone companies that they have in Asia, where people were worked so hard and so mercilessly that it was so common that people were jumping out of the windows, that to stop the problem, they added nets.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard this before.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yes. And this is actually what goes into a lot of our phones that we have right now. So this is, and so even some of these things of like I've heard people talk about, like, you have an Apple computer with a sign that says, "I use this machine to fight fascism." And it's like, do you
I always find that funny.
It is. But like getting at some of the painful reality of like, okay, well, this system is, what it's caused to get us here. There's some very serious discussions and things going on. And so now I don't know if they were trying to get at that. I don't know if that's what, was going through their mind with that. But to me, it was something at first I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is visually neat. Oh, I like it. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, this is the system literally being so devastating that people are killing themselves over the system to maintain the system. And that's something else that they talk a lot about within this, is how so many people actually prefer the Matrix, that there's a lot of people who want to be in this bubble. They want to be in this machine. They want to not think deeper. They want to just, continue on and just, cause it's kind of like the popcorn film, which there's times for that. I'm not knocking the popcorn films. I do like that. But if you only stay within the popcorn film, if all you eat is popcorn, you're going to die. It's not going to work well for you.
Right. Well, now,
yeah, so
there is an aspect of this idea of wanting to stay in the Matrix, because you look at the film and you look at the Matrix, and it's more appealing than what they call is the real world. I mean, the real world is just nasty, So, I mean, I can see that side of, well, why would I want to be in the real world when I can be in this?
Yeah, and I do like that they improved the real world on this one. I thought that was interesting, how they're growing strawberries and they have a somewhat semblance of a sky and things like that. I like that. That's kind of neat.
I agree. Yeah. That was better. Now, I still struggle with the fact that Lawrence Fishburne didn't come back for this film. I liked him a lot in the first two. And again, just like with Agent Smith, I didn't think the new guy playing Lawrence Fishburne's part, he just didn't feel like he didn't feel like him,
Yeah, and as I said, I for him I felt a bit more, because it wasn't him. It was a character named, it literally a character named Morpheus, who was created as a substitute for Morpheus, because he started out as an agent, even like he was some kind of amalgamation of them. And so I give him a little more of a pass, but it's still like, okay, if you're directly comparing this guy to who Morpheus was, which was just such a great character,
right?
There's just no comparing. And same thing with Smith. I mean, those were definitely some of the real downfalls.
I think Smith is probably one of the most iconic villains that we've had in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I would say so. I would think so.
I think a lot of that was Hugo Weaving's, how he acted it, how he did the characterization of it. I would put that one over his work in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which he did good. Yeah, but it's so iconic, such an iconic villain that he helped bring to life. And so there's no, I don't think it would have mattered who was playing this character. We would still be what other actor they.
No one's going to live up to that, is what you're saying.
No one's going to live up to the iconicness of what Hugo Weaving did with Mr. Smith.
Well, and I think the same could be said about Lawrence Fishburne too. Nobody's going to live up to his portrayal.
No one's going to live up. It doesn't matter who's, because that actor that he wasn't Black Manta in Aquaman.
I know he was in the Watchmen TV show. I'm not sure I'd have to look that up.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Oh, here we go. We're doing our on the spot fact checking here.
Hacking into the
That's what
Matrix.
makes us awesome is we do it as if we're having conversations around the coffee table. Oh, let me look at my phone real quick. Speaking of Matrix, let me get my phone out.
Well, while you're doing that, can we jump to the end of the film and where we get to the point where Neo and Trinity pretty much win the battle and everything, and they reveal that they are changing the Matrix.
So first off, yes, that is the Black Manta.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Now, he was great as Black Manta, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I
he was really
loved
good.
him as Black Manta. So I'm not saying anything about his acting abilities.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic actor. I just didn't care for him in this role. That's all. And that probably has to do with the writing and the story and so on and so forth, and less to do with his acting. So, but now, so we get to the
so
end.
going to the end of the
So
film.
we got the ending where they say that they're going to change things.
They're going to change the Matrix.
Remake this world.
Yes.
This is where I went, huh? Because, I mean, the whole idea is to pull everyone out of the Matrix and to get you into the real world. So now they're becoming the Matrix. And I don't know if I like it, and I don't know if I get it.
Okay.
So you got to help me process this one, Aaron.
Sure.
Yes.
So
So-
the other point about this too is I thought it was interesting in Aaron. See, Aaron, we're coming to you. We need help, Aaron. Is she could fly, and could he? At the end,
yeah.
When I watched it a second time, I don't
think
know
he
if
was flying.
or
I
not.
think so.
I think
No,
they
I
were,
did that.
and I think
That's
that goes into the aspect they are both one.
Yes.
Because I think they finally realized that the two of them together are the chosen one, and then it's at that point he regains his ability to be able to fly again.
Yes, and so that was something I did really like about this, and a concern I have about if they make more. I like how he was sort of this, like he had his powers, and sometimes he even exceeded his powers. So there were some things that he did in here of like the force push things that he didn't have really in the original movies.
Force push. Good
Yeah,
one. Yes,
that was
exactly
a good way to
it.
explain that.
Yes, and
Good job.
I like how he was still weak. He was still getting it because you get into the Superman problem of being too strong, and it's like, well, what do you how do you fight a god? How do you fight someone who's too strong? And so they're just one of the problems with the sequels is that it never felt like the stakes were high enough for Neo, because it's just like, oh, well, he's the one, he's Neo, he can stop him, and becomes too superpowered. As to where this one, I thought that his fights and stuff, I thought the fight scenes in this were better than a lot of the fight scenes in the sequels.
Well, in
there
this,
was just sort of that rundown,
right? In this, it was almost like it took the two of them to be able to, you had to put the combined powers together to get that. And then as far as fighting, how do you fight a god? I thought they had a good answer to that with the psychiatrist, with help me,
analyst.
Yeah,
the analyst. Yeah,
the analyst,
Neil
Patrick Harris, which he was fantastic. I really liked him. But he tells how he did so many different scenarios, and every scenario where the two of them came together, it turned out bad for him.
Yeah.
And he was like, so he realized, I got to keep you two separate, but I can't keep you two too far apart. You have to be near. So
give them just enough.
Right. He knew there was something about their power together, but he knew he had to still keep them slightly apart. Otherwise, they completely take over, which is exactly what happens. And that is an aspect I really liked. I thought that was cool.
Okay, so you asked the question about them. So they keeping the Matrix, changing the Matrix. So part of that had to do with the third movie and with the essential idea you cannot stop the Matrix, period. Because so this idea of freedom, this idea of systems of control, they are here. You can't get out of them. Because even one of the interesting things you look at Matrix in the real world, they still have hierarchies. They still have people that they have to listen to. They still have people. So that's even like one of the things. The last time I watched Matrix, I really appreciated how Cypher, he's like, you call this freedom? All I do is what he tells me to do.
Right.
So it's like, I'm a slave of your control.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Is that freedom? Like Bob Dylan had a quote, said, nobody is free. Even the bird is chained to the damn sky. And so there is just this thing of like,
oh, that's a great quote.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I hate to admit it because I can't stand Bob Dylan.
Yeah. His earlier stuff's good, but anyways, before you get that, but yeah.
You ever heard the joke about Bob Dylan being in preschool?
No.
It's something like, those are my pencils and my crayons too. Sorry.
But so we've got these levels of control, and we have this idea of freedom. It's freedom. Thank you. My lovely wife bring me some breakfast here. So
that's awesome.
Thank you. So we have this problem of okay, we can't get out of systems. Like and this is one, I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson. This is one of the things he talks a lot about, is that like the ideas of hierarchy are so deep into our brains that even lobsters follow these. like it's so deep in there into to just creatures of all kind. Like this isn't just some capitalist system that we created that's forced. It's like this is something that is really deep, just hierarchies and all these things of levels of status control. I mean, it's a much bigger problem than we can simply switch with getting the right president in, or the right system, or the right whatever. But we can make it better. We can improve things. We can make so as I said, like, we have the system of control with niceness. Well, I would rather have a system of control with kindness than a system of control with, we're going to beat you to death if you don't follow, or we're going to,
right.
I mean, that's a better system, but it's still good to be aware of what things are pulling at you and what things are kind of trying to manipulate. And also we have the thing of discovering that the machines, that they're not pure evil, that there are many machines who do, who want to be free, who want to get out of the system. And then also there are people who want the Matrix. There are people who, like, I heard this one guy, I was watching this movie on a documentary on like just the political divisiveness we have. And there's one guy, all these celebrities are like, get out there and vote. We got to vote. And there's one guy who's like, does everyone need to be super politically conscious, or should there be some people who just work their job, grill some steaks, drink some beer, and just enjoy their life? Shouldn't there be some people who can just go about their days in oblivion? Like, isn't that fine? And there's something that always kind of struck me about that. It's like, what if all you want is popcorn movies, if that's all that you want, if you never want to, in which I get from you, Steven, is that you like to go deeper on some things. It's just whenever you're here to watch a movie, you want to watch a movie, so I know that you do have more depth. I'm not saying this at you. It's just, okay, let's keep them in their boxes of when we're doing each thing.
Hey, nice recovery, Aaron. Nice recovery.
Yes. And so there is this thing of like, okay, we are going to try to improve the systems. We're going to try to make things work better. But yet then the analyst is like, look, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, it's still going to become corrupted. It's still going to become more, we will then absorb that. Whatever thing that you get, we will then absorb that and make it part of, harsher control. We'll get our hands on it again.
So it's the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yes. And I think that's a lot of what was going on in this movie is wrestling with that idea that that's where a lot of people are. Like they're saying, like Niobe, like you've just given up on humanity. You've given up on all this stuff because it does seem so unending. and seems so futile to be able to get out of the system. And so, which is real. I mean, it's a real question to say of, okay, well, do we just join it? Do we just embrace it, or just constantly go after the bad parts of it? Or
Well, that was my real struggle with was the end of this film, and how Neo and Trinity were like, no, we're changing the Matrix. And I just I stopped it, and I'm like, but that's not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be getting you out of the Matrix. But and so I struggled with that. I was like, I don't quite get this. I don't understand it. But
that was a lot of, because that was what happened in the third movie. So the whole idea at the end of that is that they get a peace. They don't actually defeat them. They get peace.
Right.
And because that's even something like, I've heard some people talk about, like, the fight against climate change and things like that. And it's like, do you understand how many people, like, sometimes people who are really, really struggling, or even like, what's a better example? So something like veganism or something like that. It's like, okay, so we can get this veggie burger, but that costs a whole lot more than just getting they have to do all this stuff to it and all this stuff. It's actually cheaper just to get the meat. And so for someone who's really in poverty, that can really harm them, or even like gas prices and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, let's keep raising the gas prices to save the environment, to slow down production. Let's try to slow it down. It's like, but do you know how many people, who really, really struggle with poverty, that if you rise that, like, it's gonna really hurt them. Like, it's really going to, you got these truck drivers, you got all these different people that it comes back around.
I just saw an article about wind turbines.
Yes.
So the wings on them, they have to replace those like every 20 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, so this company is like, oh, we can recycle these, because, now that you got all these wind turbine wings, that are that strewn about, or, that's taking up space or whatever. And they're like, oh, we can make concrete with them. Well, then there's people that are like, well, no, if you do concrete, you're just creating more greenhouse gases if you're doing all that, kind of thing. So it's just like, man, but that was some of the aspect of this equation, this balance of, if you do one thing, it creates something else, and that creates something else in return. That was the concept of the first Matrix with Neo and Smith.
Yes.
Because if you remember, the architect said we had to create a balance to the equation for Neo.
Gotcha.
And the only solution then eventually was to get him back into the system. And I think we're seeing that now with Neo, with the new Smith. But now I'm like, oh, now wait a minute. What are we going to see if they do another movie? Now what are we going to see with Neo and Trinity? Now there's two. There's two that are, really. And so are they going to balance that later on? I don't know. But just my point being is, you're right. There seems to be a cyclical aspect to it. I don't know how else to say that at the moment.
Yeah.
So here's the question. Where do they go from here?
That is the question. Because
I don't know where this movie goes.
I don't either. That was one of the questions.
We've already been mentioning it. I want to commend both of you, because you've already started stating that, well, if they start recreating the world on their own, then how does the analyst, who is in control of this world, because remember, he tried to blend the equation with the precision along with feelings. Remember that? And he was using feelings to create more energy. Like, well, man, we boosted production by 4 times, kind of a thing. And
which, if you look at like Facebook algorithms, how they go after things that get you angry. That's what people really connect to, are the things that get them angry. And you have and different things get different people angry. And once again, as I said, there's this whole left-right thing. And I thought it was interesting how Yeah. So no matter what it is that gets you angry, that's what
we're going to throw in there now. So I think that's going to be some of it is this balance of, okay, if they're going to start recreating this world, and obviously there's some things like the bots and they can recreate or they can redo or, that kind of a thing. But, they're no longer in the Matrix. They're no longer plugged in, for lack of a better term, to create that battery intensity, that production, that so how are they going to do that? So one is they're going to recreate, and two, I think that's going to create problems. I think the analyst is going to be fighting against them, so that's going to be, we're going to see him come back because this is his world that he's created. Sure. I think this is a Matrix outside of the Matrix kind of a thing, for lack of a better term, because he was creating. And if you remember, Niobe said, man, we saw the machines fighting each other. We've never seen that before. And I think that you still have the architect in the Oracle's Matrix, but right now we're in the analyst Matrix, because the analyst was the one who paid for to try to resurrect Neo and Trinity for that production output. So it's his system that's creating all this battery production as compared to the other one. So maybe he broke off, and maybe we'll begin to see some factions that are created in the machine world, because now we're already seeing some machines that are trying to partner with people, unless that's an illusion in and of itself too. I don't know, but I think there's where your next story is moving into. Right. And I wish they would clean up the Merovingian. Man, I loved him in the trilogy, and I thought they just pew-pewed on him in this one as an exile or whatever.
I definitely agree with that. I would love to see him, because I still think that he's a better villain than the analyst and stuff like that. I would love to see him become more of a which they could. I mean, they show that he's there. So I could see that happening.
Yeah, but I liked your description of him in this. How you called him a angry commentator.
Yeah,
I thought that troll was good. Troll.
Yeah,
I like that. I thought that was.
And didn't he say something about like, "Oh, I'm going to get my own spinoff and sequel" or something like that?
I don't see that happening.
When I watched it the second time,
he said
I
that.
put on the subtitles.
Did he really say that? Because I don't know. I can't. I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, no, probably not. But yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'm really at a loss. And then also we have that whole thing of the Superman problem again, of how they're both,
they're back to being the ultimate power type. Yeah.
Well, that's how the first one ended. Again, it's that parallel, but now it's both of them together. And how did they finish? He flew off into the air, and so they're kind of doing the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. I did not know if they were going to do a trilogy. Do you think they are? Do you think because of, this is getting bad reviews all over the place.
It's kind of down the middle. I see it as a very divisive film. I think right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 60 something. It's like high 60s maybe.
Oh, okay.
Audience score is somewhat high. I think it's in the 70s. I would like to see. I think I want to see one more. I want to see one more, close it out properly, and I don't know how you do that. I don't know what I would do with it. Yeah, because just once again, where they took it of this nature, where the extent that they took it to, yeah, I don't know, because this certainly felt like a Force Awakens. We are reopening up the world. Agreed. And that was one of the things I really loved about Force Awakens. I thought Force Awakens did a fantastic job of saying, hey, get back on here, here's our new characters, let's get you on here, let's and I was really excited for that new trilogy. This one I can't say I want it to come back over and over again. I don't think that many of the new characters really. Actually, nobody really struck a chord with me as being someone.
I love Bugs Bunny. Bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was a good character.
Yeah. Wasn't bad, but I guess this is one of the problems with the Matrix. A lot is everyone's so deadpanned, monotone. It's just like they're kind of interchangeable to some extent. But yeah, I would like to see one more. See it closed out well. But I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll say this to close this out. I will say that Aaron, I appreciate the conversations. I believe this really. Okay, I'll go actually probably a little bit higher now on this one. Looking at from that thinking point of view, like from a philosophical standpoint, that, as I stated earlier, that combination, with commentary versus where we've been, kind of a thing. And, and trying to stick it to Warner Brothers a little bit.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and kind of helping me analyze this a little bit more. I still stick with my 3 though. I'm not changing it. It's 3 red pills. Now maybe if they come out with the second film to this, the sequel to this, and something opens this up more, maybe then I'll change my score. But at the moment, I keep it the same. There's some things I really liked, and there's some things that I really didn't like. Mm-hmm. So. But I do like your idea, Aaron, of this being comparing it to The Force Awakens. Actually, I give Force Awakens a higher score, even though I'm not
definitely
big on the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. But I did enjoy The Force Awakens, and again, there were things I really didn't like in The Force Awakens too. But I like you, I agreed it was a good start to what could have been a really good story in the end, and I just don't think they got there with it. I hope that this does not go that route with The Matrix. I hope they do a better job at finishing this off than what Star Wars did with the sequel trilogy. So,
yes, definitely. And I agree with you as well that it does feel like I'm looking at an incomplete piece. It's certainly, to its credit, I think it being a smaller story works for it. Because the 2 and 3 were so big and had so much going on. Some of this side character, that side, to where just focusing on them, I think worked well for it, but it didn't really feel good for a finale,
right.
Of just, okay, I got to free you, you're out. And, but I don't know. I mean, if they don't make any more, I mean, it'll be all right. It'll be okay. I just don't know what you do with this. I mean, eventually you just get to where you're beating a dead horse and, yeah, I don't know what, don't know, or, right. But
Aaron, anyways, great to have you with us. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm glad I was able to watch it in time. I know I was getting closer and closer. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to have time.
Well, this is rough. We're all at Christmas, and we're all doing Christmas festivities, and we appreciate you taking the time and watching it and joining us. So,
yep. So, Aaron, where can people find you? The Geek with the Bible.
Yes. So I have got Geek with the Bible. I'm doing podcast. I'm getting caught up with the podcast. I used to be that was sort of like an afterthought, but now I've got it where I'm going to be releasing it with the YouTube videos as well. So you can find Geek with the Bible on YouTube, on podcasts, which right now I'm doing one every day. I'm trying to get all caught up with the catalog, and then hopefully New Year's Eve I'll have start off with new ones once a week on Fridays. Facebook, I'm very active on Facebook. Got a lot more.
A lot of memes action going on. I love it.
Yes. I heard someone said my favorite description on my site. They said, you make me laugh every day, and you make me feel either convicted or inspired once a week. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Love it.
I also have a Etsy shop as well. Just start doing stuff, which actually right here, I still need to send this out to you. Here's Mike's shirt here.
It's got my T-shirt.
So yep. Got that made up for you. So,
I love that.
Looks great, man. I can't wait to get it.
So make those myself. So you can check those out. So, all righty.
All right.
Cool beans. All right. Well, I'm good. This is a good show. It was a good show. Great conversation. Thank you, Aaron, Mike. Thank you. You guys helped me. Just a new perspective. I always love getting new perspectives on things. So thank you so much for that. Because I really wanted to love this movie because I am a Matrix fan. You guys helped me love it a little bit more. So move the needle up a little bit. So thank you. All right, Mike, it is all you to close us out, my brother.
All right, with that said, over and out, and may the Force be with you. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,